Cool. Hey everyone, how's it going? Thank you for watching. I'm really excited to get into today's video. And so, if you're watching this, you already know I'm here to discuss how I designed the Arcade1Up online experience. So, for most of you who are watching, probably don't know, I'm a product designer as well. So, basically, what I do is I navigate and develop the user interface of a product and the user experience, and basically understand how people interact with products and do my best job to iterate upon something that is going to make the experience a lot more natural, fluid, and easier to navigate. And so, watching other people's streams, I noticed particularly with the Arcade1Up Big Blue cabinet, that particular cabinet has 12 games with online play, and you do have to do a lot of menu diving to actually get to a match or to see who's online. And so I guess one of the main people who really brought this to my attention was Revv from the Fighters Evo community. Put your quarters on the glass. Most people who will be watching this video are familiar with him, but if you're not, go check out his videos. They're really fun and goofy, and he really is a strong component of the FGC community in Arcade1Up itself, the Arcade1Up space, which is really exciting, and I highly encourage you to go check him out. And yeah, so let's jump into the video, and I'm going to show you guys what I have done and how I've iterated upon what is already existing. Hey everyone, how's it going? So here we are to my design page, and I've clearly laid out all of the things that we're going to be going through today. So currently I took photos of their existing design. For my particular example, I used the Marvel vs. Capcom cabinet because that's the one I have and play the most. And so I just took photos of the traditional walkthrough that each user will go through as they're playing the machine and my design proposals. And on top of that, I've kind of made this like quick notes of some of the issues that I'm going to be walking through. So users have to click through multiple screens to see who is playing online for each game. And that is one of the first points we're going to be talking about. So to address this situation, I'm going to walk you guys through just the standard process for using the online service. So here is the main screen that you look at when you turn on your cabinet. You're going to see leaderboards, your rank. On the top left, you're going to see your icon. You're going to have this main game selection screen. So if you look at the indicator arrow right here, pretty much just move left and right and go through all the games that we have available. So moving forward, once you select the game, it will ask you to select between a local game or an online game. Assuming you hit online, you're going to be moving to this next screen where it asks you to choose a danger room, a game hall, 1 or 2. Once you land in that page, you're going to have this next screen here. And here you're going to have just the open lobbies and the empty ones and the ones that are currently active. And here, another thing you can notice is the quick match button, and then you have now your level being displayed here, which is basically your EXP, your experience. As you play more games, your experience will build up, and that will tell other players just how much experience you have with the game. And moving forward, once you click on a particular game, you are given the option to join or watch. And that's pretty much where the service ends. You click that and it'll take you right into the game. Kind of what I mentioned earlier is the way their system works is you have to click through, if you want to see who's playing Marvel vs. Capcom or X-Men vs. Street Fighter or Marvel superheroes, you have to basically go through this entire process and, 5 pages deep, whatever, just to see really who's online. And if there's nobody in that room, you have to back all the way out and click the next game and then go into that. So you can understand how frustrating it could be just having to go through 12 games, for an example. Since Big Blue has 12 games, I can imagine how frustrating this might eventually be, just sitting here clicking through menus to figure out who's going to be playing online. So jumping into my first design solution, basically what I did was I've laid out all the games into one cohesive screen. And so here, one of the big changes that I made that you'll probably notice is this live button. So the live button is what you press when you enter like the online mode. And I thought it would be actually a pretty interesting design choice to, what if we just, instead of having to make users choose between a local or an online game, what if when you turn on the cabinet, you have all your games laid out right here, and you can click into any of these and it's automatically assumed that these are just going to be the local games. And when you do want to play online, you just hover over to your live section, and pretty much you click on that. It's going to take you to the next page here, and boom, you are in the lobby room, and the live room, I guess you could say. And so the live room, this is actually a pretty fun design choice that I made here. Is what if you come into this live room and you can see, Kongzerus is playing Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. There's 4 out of 6 people in the lobby. There's 10 people watching, and the rules are first to 10. And then you could also look down here and see, 19K Fox is playing X-Men versus Street Fighter. Same principle, same idea. There's 4 to 6 players, 10 people watching, whatever the rules are. And this way, when you come in, you don't have to jump through all 12 games and go through each of the menus to figure out who's actually online. This way you can come in and just very clearly see, okay, cool, there's 5 people playing X-Men versus Street Fighter. There's, 1 person playing Puzzle Fighters, whatever. And basically this screen kind of answers that issue of having to jump through all those menus. If you can just condense everything to one live button and one live section, then you can easily navigate and figure out, eliminate all the menu diving and just figure out very quickly which games are being played and who's online. And so the next issue I wanted to address here is when users who enter a game have the option of joining or watching, but when a user exits, other users can't enter without backing out. And so this is actually kind of an interesting one, which I did discover you can actually enter the game after someone leaves, but it's not really explicit or implied. But basically what I'm getting at here is, if I'm watching these 2 people play, I'll make you break Sandman 78, and I'm watching them play, and let's say Sandman decides to leave, you as the viewer, I don't remember if you can, I think you can, I could be wrong, but there's not, you can enter the game, and basically since this person left, you can jump in and play against I'll Make You Break. But it's not really explicit. There's not really any directions telling you how to do that. You kind of just have to hit the enter button, and I think it'll work. I could be wrong. But otherwise, you would have to back out and then go back in the room and join versus watch, and then you could play the game. But this whole experience basically makes you kind of do the same thing as I mentioned before, a lot of menu diving. So my design solution for this was, what if when you enter a room, so here's basically once you are in the lobby section and you enter a game, you can either join or watch, very similarly as before. But what if when you come in here, there's more room for other people to just hop in and join an empty slot, and that way you're not having to wait, and you're not having to jump out of menu diving, and you're basically creating this really cool experience that emulates the nostalgia of playing in a real arcade. And playing in a real arcade, as most of you know, is pretty much like you put your quarters on the glass or you wait in line, whoever's next. And this really, I think this system adds to Arcade1Up's nostalgia factor and allows you to sort of virtually relive that experience of seeing, who's coming next. So the exciting thing about this lobby system is here you can see, okay, cool, we're playing Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. Kongzerus is hosting. The rules are first to 10. He's down here playing against Tonka. A new person would be able to come in and join the empty slot. Up next is P-Dubs, and then you pretty much follow along the list, and the loser after 10 games pops back out to the bottom slot, and the cycle just continues. And that way you kind of create this community-based space where people are actively competing in little fun tournaments or casual matches or things of that nature. So that was kind of the next big step that I really took with this design proposal. So the next main thing that I wanted to tackle is number 3, there are no settings regarding how the match works. So this is actually kind of an interesting concept. So when you join a game, and let's go back to their screen here. When you join a game, you enter in, and you can pretty much play endlessly until someone rage quits or dips out or whatever. there's not really any rule system. And I think it would be fun to implement kind of like traditional fighting game community standards of having like a first to 10 or a first to 3, first to 5. And so the idea with this is if you create a new lobby, you could pretty much choose between like one of 3 items. So you could do a first to 3, first to 5, first to 10, whatever. And I think this experience kind of addresses the fact that there's not really settings for that. I think this is pretty straightforward. I think it's a really simple rule that they could just implement or add to their sort of online system, and I think it would really enhance the experience. I think this is just another step of creativity and another place that we could continue to push forward the community and just kind of enable these little rules. And this concept really comes from Fightcade, where they kind of have these particular settings, and I think it just kind of adds a little more flavor, and it's a little nod to the community, if you will. All right, and the next one is there a design solution that aligns with the brand? And so walking through my entire process here, pretty much what I've done is I've made sure that my design is as close as I could get to their original concept, but I just added some subtle touches. So if you look at their main screen here, you can see the Arcade1Up logo is sideways. We have the Marvel logo in the left corner. You have this navigation section, your leaderboards, your Wi-Fi, your games, and the user icon. And what I really tried to do with mine was really just clean it up and make it a little more simplistic and easier to visually understand. So making sure I put the icon up here, including the Wi-Fi, the settings, and having your Arcade1Up and Marvel logos at the top. And so that way they're not kind of in these weird places sort of competing with one another. And that way your user page is just a little easier and more concise and clearer to understand. So that way here, more subtle changes that I've added is this highlight on the selected item. So that way you know when these particular items are a little bit grayed out, they're obviously not highlighted. You'll be moving your cursor over to the particular ones that you want to highlight. The white highlight will follow for each one. You might notice in the leaderboard here, I removed the lost section, and I personally think this actually cleans up this chart a little bit more. I think one of the interesting things about leaderboards is, you know, you obviously, the most important thing is, like, especially for fighting games, is how many wins do you have? And I think having the amount of losses next to it is arguably not as important as your wins. I think it's a good idea, but I think at the end of the day, it'll basically allow people to obsess over how many losses they've had. And we kind of already have this issue in the community where people who have like a higher ranking don't want to fight other people just to preserve their ranking and preserve their level. And I think removing the losses from the factor, from the equation, will kind of allow people to have genuinely more fun with the game. Because I think when you're at this high of a level that you have like 2,000 wins, you don't want to like really showcase like, oh man, I have 2,000 wins, but I've lost like 1,500 times or 100 times or whatever. And I think it kind of adds an unnecessary level of competition to the leaderboards, especially in terms of loss and preserving your rank and basically avoiding other fighters, because you know if you fight them, you're going to lose and you're going to add to your loss rank. So I think just removing it overall really just simplifies the leaderboard and really cleans up the space. And moving into the next screen, all I've really done here is pretty much just use their existing system, but just implement the concept that making it a unified place for you to see which games are being played. And that way it's not so, it saves the user, the person, a lot of time. Instead of having to go through all 12 menus, they can just hit one and very easily and clearly see which games are being played. And I think that experience will make it so much better for people moving forward. The next major design change that I've added was this join and watch. And this is kind of more an accessibility thing. So if we go back to this screen here, when you select a lobby to join or watch or whatever, you are basically given these two CTA call to action buttons, and realistically they are pretty small. And I think in terms of just making this more accessible for all types of people, why not just make it a little bit bigger? Why not make it something more visible and
just clear to really see and understand. So basically what I have it doing here is just having like an overlay and making sure that the call to action buttons are taking over the screen, and just very clear and easier to understand. And that way when you go into your lobby, you can just see very quickly, like whether you do decide to join or watch. If you join, you will just hop into one of these empty slots and go along the list, and you'll be able to jump in and play other people. And that's pretty much the major changes. I've pretty much just refined what they had and did my part to make it a little bit cleaner, a little bit more concise, and really focus on the fighting game community and really address some of the concerns that they have really addressed. The one last minor change that I had removed that I would love to get feedback from everyone on is this quick match button. So I sort of mentioned this earlier very quickly, but when you go into the online lobbies, you have this quick match button. And what it's supposed to do is basically line you up with a game fairly quickly and just not have to worry about figuring out which one you want to join or whatever. You just press this and it puts you in a room. But personally, in my experience, having owned the cabinet for maybe 7 months now, I've never been able to successfully join a match using quick match. So personally, I like the idea. I just don't think that there's enough users all at once to really utilize that button. And personally, to me, it just felt like a lot of dead space. So what I really did was just remove it and expand your experience bar and make that even more clear to see and understand. And personally, I would love to know what everyone else thinks. I think this particular design decision was based off my experience, but if anyone else has actually had experience with this, please comment below. Please let me know what you think, and I would love to address that and hear your personal experience. One last minor thing that I have done is the experience bar. If you take a look up here, the progress indicator is yellow, which I always thought was kind of strange, because if you're using basic color psychology, green is always associated with growth. And that's kind of the main reason I chose to use green in this, is when you're playing these games and your experience level goes up, your level goes up and your experience goes up, that's because it's all about learning. It's all about growth in this space. And I think using the basic color psychology of green as a positive reinforcement for learning, it really indicates that you're progressing with the game and you're growing alongside the community and other people in the fighting game space. And I really just wanted to use a color that really reinforced that experience, hence me using the green color here. And below I will leave access to all of these links. And below I'm going to leave access to this file page for everyone to really look at and just get a quick glance at my design proposal. And yeah, I think it would be really cool to make this accessible for everyone and be able to have just maybe some general feedback and hear from the community what you guys think and how I can do to improve this. And yeah, I'm going to switch back to the other camera. Thank you so much.
All right, we're back. So I guess I just want to say thank you for everyone who watched it through this far. And I really hope that my design proposals will inevitably make the experience a lot easier for people to really just get in and game and really empower the community. That was my main goal with this redesign, is to address the concerns that are out there and see what I could do to make the experience a little bit closer to what an arcade really is and really play on that nostalgia factor. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any concerns, or if you have maybe suggestions on how I could improve this experience, please reach out to me. Unfortunately, I'm not affiliated with Arcade1Up, but I do hope they see this video. And if they do, please reach out to me, as I'm more than happy to help and develop and implement a new UI system that is more catered to your fan base and your community and people like me who really care about your product and just want to see it grow. So thank you for watching, and take care.